At our family reunion, my sister's daughter suddenly announced, "Mom says you never do anything for this family." Everyone laughed and clapped. I smiled and replied, "Perfect. Then she won't miss the $5,020 I pay toward her mortgage every month." The room went silent. My sister, Erica, turned pale. Her daughter, Madison, should have stopped there, but she didn't. She wanted attention, loud enough for everyone to hear. We were a crowd of about 30 people, some I hadn't seen in years, gathered to celebrate my promotion, a milestone no one on Erica's side had ever acknowledged. Not because they didn't know, but because if it wasn't about them, they didn't care. Madison liked to act clever, just like her mom. For too long, I let that kind of behavior slide. I kept the peace by paying for things I shouldn't have, helping them more times than I could count. But that peace ended the second Madison opened her mouth. The reunion had been my idea, though I wasn't excited about it. Greg, my husband, told me to cancel after we saw the guest list, but our boys were looking forward to it. I thought, fine, one last time. We hosted it at the lake house we rent every year. I covered everything: food, drinks, setup, cleanup, even the folding chairs. No one noticed. Erica arrived in a sundress I recognized because I bought it for her last spring when she said she couldn't afford new clothes. She didn't greet me, just waved and walked in with Madison, who was glued to her phone. They barely acknowledged Greg and didn't speak to my boys. I tried to stay calm and not let it bother me. Dessert came out while my mom was telling a story about our dad. People were half listening, half eating strawberry shortcake. Then Madison decided to drop her little bomb. "Mom says you never give back to this family." She said it casually, like she'd heard it 100 times. Everything stopped. The air shifted. My mom went quiet. Greg froze. My sons looked at me, unsure what to do. And Erica? She kept sipping her drink as if nothing happened. I smiled, not because I was happy, but because I finally stopped caring. I said, "Perfect. Then she won't miss the $5,200 I cover for her mortgage every month." There were gasps and even a few claps, not from joy, but shock. The person they least expected to speak up had just pulled the curtain back. Erica went pale, Madison blinked, and Greg raised his glass slightly before saying, "Maybe it's time we tell the rest." So I did. I reminded everyone that the SUV Erica drives isn't actually hers. I bought it. It's in my name, and I pay the insurance because she said she couldn't get approved. I mentioned the utility bills I paid to keep their lights on, the tutoring I funded when Madison started failing classes, and the Christmas gifts I bought from Santa even when Greg and I had to dip into savings. I'd done all of it quietly. And still, this was how they saw me. Greg leaned over and asked, "We're done helping them, right?" I didn't hesitate. "Yep, starting today." And that was it. The free ride ended right there. Everyone knew it. Erica, Madison, all of them. The reunion wrapped up quicker than I expected. Some relatives left early, making excuses. My Aunt Brenda tried to lighten the mood by cleaning up dessert plates. Erica didn't say another word. Madison hid behind her phone, probably texting a play-by-play to her friends. I didn't care. Greg and I packed up the boys and drove home in silence for about 10 minutes. Then my oldest, Jesse, asked softly, "Are you okay?" I told him, "Better than okay." And for once, I meant it. That night, I went straight to my office and opened the folder with Erica's mortgage payments, auto pay through our joint account. I canceled it. The next payment was due in 4 days. I told Greg, "That's going to hit her fast." He didn't even look up, just smiled and said, "Good." I didn't stop there. The next morning, I called the insurance company and removed Erica from the car policy. Since the vehicle was registered in my name, she'd have to get her own coverage. I told her in a short voicemail, "You'll need to start paying your mortgage, and the car insurance is no longer under me. Let me know when you're ready to handle the paperwork." She never called back, but Madison did, 3 days later. She sent a long, dramatic text accusing me of abandoning family and making things worse. She said her mom had been crying for days, that she might have to quit cheerleading if things didn't get better. I stared at the message, stunned. No apology, No accountability, just guilt and panic because for the first time, they were being held responsible. I replied with one sentence, "Actions have consequences, Madison." That was when I knew I'd finally done the right thing. Not just for me, but for my kids. They needed to see that kindness doesn't mean being a doormat, that you can love people and still say enough. The next week passed quietly. Then my mom called. She wanted to talk things through, saying maybe I'd been too harsh. She claimed Erica was just going through a rough patch and didn't know how to ask for help properly. I stayed silent for a moment, then asked one question. "Did you know I was paying her mortgage?" She paused. "No." "Exactly," I said. She tried again, suggesting maybe I could at least keep helping with the car for a few months. I cut her off. I told her I'd been helping for years and no one noticed. But the second I stopped, I became the villain. That's not how family works. Not anymore. The real surprise came the next day. Erica didn't show up at my house. She went to Greg's office. No call, no text, no warning. She just walked in. Greg phoned me afterward and said, "You're not gonna believe this." She'd arrived wearing big sunglasses and a fake air of confidence, asking if she could have a quick word. Greg didn't throw her out, but he wasn't friendly either. He just listened. She started crying, saying she didn't understand why I embarrassed her in front of everyone, how humiliated she felt, and that Madison hadn't spoken to her in 2 days, as if that was my fault. Then she got to the real reason she was there. Her mortgage payment had bounced. Her account was overdrawn, and the bank was calling. She said she was trying to hold things together for Madison, and asked if Greg could help smooth things over so we could figure something out. Greg leaned back in his chair and told her calmly to leave. He didn't yell or argue. He simply said it was over, that she'd used up more chances than anyone else, and whatever conversation she thought she was having, it was the wrong man, wrong place, and wrong decade. She left without a word. Later that night, she texted me a long message, blaming me for tearing the family apart, making Madison feel unsafe, and being cold after everything we'd been through. It was like she was rewriting history, pretending I hadn't spent years saving her from her own mistakes while she told everyone I was selfish. I didn't respond. I blocked her number that night. Madison went silent too. No posts, no stories. Her usually non-stop social media went dark for 2 days. Then she posted a blurry selfie with a caption that read, "Real ones never leave." I knew it was about me. I didn't care. Then came the letter. 2 pages, handwritten, folded neatly, with no return address. It was from Erica. She said she'd been reflecting, admitted she might have let pride get in the way, and that she should have said thank you more often. But even her apology had an undertone, like I'd overreacted, like I should have handled everything more privately. She asked me not to punish Madison for her mistakes, and begged me to reconsider letting them keep the car, saying they needed it to get by. I sat there reading, feeling something I hadn't in years, relief, because finally the weight was lifting. The guilt, the manipulation, the constant taking, it was all cracking. But I wasn't done. I gave them a week, 7 full days to apologize or at least act like adults. Erica sent her letter, but never came in person. Madison stayed quiet except for vague posts like family can be the coldest, or some people only help so they can brag about it later. Still no accountability. After that week, I stopped waiting. I grabbed the spare key to the SUV, the one still legally mine because Erica's credit was too bad to get financing. Back when I bought it, I didn't think twice. She needed help. I had the means. That's how it always started. But this time, I was done being her sponsor. I drove to their house one Thursday, around noon, without warning, parked the SUV right in front of their place, and took photos, mileage, condition, plates, everything. Then I locked it and slipped the key into an envelope. Inside, I left a sticky note with one line, "It's yours when you pay for it." As I turned to leave, Madison came outside, barefoot, sleeves pulled over her hands. She stopped on the porch and just stared at me. I braced for sarcasm, another smart remark, but instead, she asked quietly, "Do you hate me?" It caught me off guard. She didn't sound angry, just small. Not the smug teenager from the reunion. I told her, "No, I don't hate you. I hate how you treated me." Then I turned to go. Before I reached my car, Erica burst out the door barefoot too. Mid-conversation on her phone, I heard something about overdraft fees and late notices before she spotted me. She shouted, "Don't you dare walk away from this, Stacy. You ruined everything." I didn't stop. I got in my car, rolled up the windows, and drove away without a word. I didn't feel guilty, not one bit. That night, just past midnight, I got a string of messages from Madison. Long ones, apologies, then blame, then apologies again. She said her mom was a mess, the power company had called, and they might have to sell their TV. She said she didn't understand why I was being so cruel. That word stuck with me, cruel, as if years of help meant nothing, as if my only crime was finally saying no. The truth was simple. I didn't ruin their lives. I just stopped fixing what they kept breaking. The next morning, around 7:40, Greg woke me up, phone in hand. "You need to hear this," he said. It was a voicemail from Madison. She'd gone to his office, not to yell, but to ask for a job. She said she'd do anything, filing, cleaning, answering phones. She said she needed money fast, that her mom wasn't doing well, that bills were piling up, and things were getting weird at home. Greg didn't say much after playing it. He just walked to the kitchen for coffee, leaving me with his phone. I listened twice. Madison's voice was shaky, nothing like the confident girl I knew. She said there was something she wanted to tell me, something about her mom. Greg texted her later, asking to meet at a diner near his office. Neutral ground. I didn't want her in our home, not yet. She showed up 10 minutes early, hair brushed, hoodie replaced with a borrowed blazer, no makeup, just tired eyes. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I expected guilt or drama, but she surprised me. She sat down and said quietly, "I didn't know about the mortgage, not until last week." I didn't respond right away. Greg sat next to me, arms crossed, quietly listening. Madison continued, explaining that her mom had been lying to her for years, telling her everything was fine, that she had things under control, that I helped because I owed the family after becoming so successful. She thought I wanted to pay for everything. She had no idea about the mortgage, the bills, the car, the tutoring, or even that I'd covered her cheerleading trip to Florida. She thought her mom had somehow managed it all. Then, after the reunion, she found the truth. Unopened bank letters, overdue notices, even a foreclosure warning. She looked at me and said, "I know it's not your fault. I just didn't know who to be mad at until now." That's when I realized Madison had been manipulated, just like I had used and kept in the dark. Erica had twisted everything, making me look like the villain while sinking deeper into her own mess. Madison then pulled out a torn envelope from her bag. Inside was a check I'd written over a year ago, $850, made out to cash for groceries. She said she found it in her mom's drawer, along with a dozen others, all uncashed. "I think she kept them as proof," Madison said quietly, "so she could use them against you later." That was when everything clicked. Erica never meant to fix anything. She just wanted leverage. A record of every favor, not to show gratitude, but to manipulate guilt whenever she needed it. I pushed the check back toward Madison and told her, "I'm not hiring family anymore. If you want a job, apply somewhere on your own." She looked heartbroken, but didn't argue. She just nodded and whispered, "Yeah." As we stood to leave, she said something that stopped me cold. "I don't think she's done." I frowned. "What do you mean?" Madison looked at the floor and said, "I heard her talking to Grandma. She's trying to turn everyone against you. She said you've changed, that Greg controls you. She even said she might tell people you've been stealing from the family for years, that you only pretend to be generous." That's when I knew Erica was spiraling. And the worst part was, my mother was helping her. Madison said Erica had been calling relatives all week, spreading stories that I was using my promotion to act superior, that I'd made up the payments just to humiliate her. And Mom was listening. I didn't want to believe it until the phone rang that night. It was her. She started with small talk, asked about the boys, about work. I waited. Then came the real reason for the call. Maybe you should have handled things privately, Stacy. You didn't have to humiliate your sister like that. That was the moment I knew I was done. I asked her, "Do you remember who paid your rent last winter when your heating broke?" Silence. Then I told her, "Erica wouldn't have survived the last 3 years without me. The only reason she's angry is because the free ride ended." She tried to interrupt, but I kept going. "If you want to pick sides, that's fine. Just don't come to me when she drains your savings too." Then I hung up. The next day, I went to the DMV and started the paperwork to repossess the SUV. It was legally mine, and I'd given her enough chances. The repo company called 3 days later. They said the car was gone. Not stolen, sold. Erica had forged documents and sold it for cash under the table. I filed a police report and gave them everything: photos, title, texts. The man who bought it returned it immediately once he realized what happened. Erica, though, was now facing legal trouble, and she knew I was the one who reported her. Madison came to my office a week later, crying. She said her mom was losing control, screaming, blaming me for everything. The lights had been shut off, the fridge was empty, and Madison had found a notebook titled "Ways to Make Stacy Regret It." The list included things like calling HR at my job, reporting Greg for financial abuse, and spreading rumors about us both. That's when Greg stepped in. The next morning, he went to Erica's house alone. He didn't argue or shout. He simply handed her a letter stating that any further harassment, slander, or contact would lead to a restraining order. Any attempts to involve our kids, relatives, or workplaces would bring legal action. She was officially cut off from our property, our phones, and our lives. She slammed the door in his face. 2 days later, my mother called again, saying Erica told her I was suing my sister and ruining her life because I couldn't handle the truth. I asked Mom if she wanted to go next. She didn't answer. I hung up again. That was the last call I took. After that, things finally quieted down. Erica and Madison moved out of their rental 2 months later. No one knows where they went. Madison eventually found a job at a pharmacy across town and stopped posting online. My mom still lives alone now. We're polite, but distant. She knows where the line is. And me, I'm good. My sons respect me more than ever. They saw what real boundaries look like. Greg and I are stronger than we've ever been. I still have the check Madison returned, the one Erica never cashed. I keep it in my desk drawer as a reminder. They once tried to make me the villain for doing too much, but they never imagined I'd stop. Now they know. And for the first time, they truly respect me. Not because I yelled, not because I fought, but because I finally stood my ground.